Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. Oh my God, guys, we got a full house today. It's very rare, but I was thinking the whole time I have to play like traffic cop. You know, you got to like, when you got so many different amazing people on a call, you know, an hour's not enough, but we're going to dive into some stuff, and we've got we're going to talk about the experience that we're creating that we're super pumped about. You know, when you come up with an idea, me and Dennis have been talking about putting on an immersion retreat for a long time. And I think I texted Chase like a couple of words and he was like, I'm in. So, we know that everybody's in alignment here. So guys, today I have the Building Men guys, Dennis and Anthony. I have Chase Tolleson, and we're doing an event called the Hero's Journey. It's going to be in the spring and the fall, and we're going to see where it goes. But I'll start with you, gentlemen, Anthony and Dennis. For anybody that hasn't listened to the episode we've been on, give it a little background, who you are and what you do.
You want to start?
Sure.
Jump in, bro.
So I'm Dennis's younger brother by 14 years. I was a strength and conditioning coach my whole life. And, I decided to leave that when Dennis started his Building Men movement. I realized, that he was onto something. I also hated the job that I was at. I felt like I had a ceiling and I was kind of like stuck in this little box where I could work. And, my whole life I was struggling with anxiety and depression. And I realized that there's a big area there, especially for men, that they don't tackle enough. They don't actually dive into how they feel and their emotions. And I realized I could kind of work with them through physical fitness and nutrition and really dive headfirst into that area. So Dennis asked me to come on board with him. And then ever since then, we've been kind of hit the ground running and doing podcasts together and trying to figure out a way to align our missions with helping as many people as possible.
Yeah, and we were together, Austin, on your podcast first on Construct Your Life. A while back, it was February, I believe. It aired February 8th of 2021. And we had connected a couple months before, sent something on Instagram, connected. How you doing, sir? And I love what you're doing. And you and I connected. And from that point, there was just a synergistic connection that we had. And you saw me go through an unbelievable journey over the past year plus. And part of it was making this Building Men idea that I had as a principal, as I was a middle school principal, understanding the importance of having this community connection between young men, and then creating a podcast around that idea, and then understanding it's so needed for men in our age range. And I'm the senior member of the group. I just turned 45, so I'm the old man of the group. So, but understanding that there is absolutely a need for this community connection, this brotherhood feel. And what we do on the Building Men podcast is we talk to men and women, but primarily men, about their journey. We talk a lot about education. We talk a lot about identity. We talk a lot about people's belief around masculinity. It's such an interesting topic right now. And as we've honed our definition around masculinity, we've made unbelievable connections. And, two of the most important, impactful connections were with the two of you guys.
I love that. And what's interesting about your journey is like when I say the podcast started, like you just talking to yourself, like you really did start like you talking to yourself. And now I look every week, and I don't know about you, Chase, but I'm like, these sons of bitches have the biggest guest I've ever seen, and it's just amazing to see the transformation. So you're doing so much good in the world. So excited to dig into that. And how about you, sir? Give us a little backstory on you. Chase?
Ooh, the backstory. Well,
short. Okay.
Well, thanks to Dennis, I am the pirate angel. Lifelong fitness aficionado, got out of the Navy, opened a gym, felt that I was changing lives, and realized that there was still a lot of work to be done with the stories in people's head. Started into the mindset and life coaching game, and now I use fitness as a delivery vehicle to help men address the stories and language that they use to frame their life.
I love it. And, at the end of the day, I think, one of the things that we generally talk about on, to break it down in a simple context is there's too much to think about these days, right? There's too many decisions. Well, you shouldn't eat eggs. No, eat eggs. You should eat butter. Don't eat butter. You should, I'll be honest with you, choosing my clothes and my shoes I wear is probably the easiest thing I do all day, because the rest of the shit is, it could be whatever. So, Anthony and Chase, whoever wants to answer first, I think there's so much ambiguity in doing stuff that the indecision almost creates an inactivity. And my new saying is that action gives you the answers that you need.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
Action dispels overwhelm.
Yeah. Oh, that's even better. Now we just upgraded that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure Anthony, I'd imagine after his post last night that he would agree with this one, that there's so many guidelines out there, that keto this, paleo that, this and that. Like when we can adopt a simple set of lifestyle guidelines, like the basic habits, not like don't eat carbs, only eat meat, only eat carbs, don't eat meat, like the basics, drink your water, get enough protein, get your fiber, go for a walk. All of a sudden, it's like you have a magic potion.
And it's the consistency on top of that, right? We love to compartmentalize and put these things into these nice little neat groups. If this is good, then that's bad. That's not necessarily the case, right? It's just easier to start small, start simple, and stick with that, because over time, that's going to make a huge difference in the long run. Most people don't. That's why they call them yo-yo diets. They end up doing them for a month, and then they switch to the next shiny toy that's out there. So I think that would save a lot of people just actually sticking to these small, simple tasks that they can do and doing them continuously throughout their life.
And Dennis, you and I have both, lost a lot of weight, transformed ourselves around. If you had to pinpoint, I know what it was for me. I saw a picture of myself and I was like, fuck, God damn it.
Yeah.
That really woke me the hell up. What happened with you?
There's a picture that you posted recently, your before and after picture. I have a post from a year plus ago. The look on our face was the same. We just were this. It was this sad. I want to give that guy a hug and be like, bro, it's going to be okay. Both of us.
It's a whole lot of man to hug there.
Yeah. I don't know if I can get
but here's the problem. Here's the problem. There's also a fake reality that we were also telling ourselves that everything was fine.
That's the absolute. And for me, Austin, there was a moment where I looked in the mirror and I was just like, no more, no mas. You have to stop right now and then start anew. And the reason why I took that picture, it's so scary to do that before picture. It's admitting to yourself that you are at this moment, but it also gave me the freedom, because I said to myself, I will not be this man again. I'm going to pull out, the things inside of me that I once really believed in, and I knew that this is what I was capable of. So for me, that was the first step, was actually recognizing it, admitting it, telling that to myself, believing that I can do it. Once I started with a physical journey, so it was, I was drinking, like Chase said, drinking water every day, getting outside every day. I was doing something physical every day. I cut down my eating window. So I did start to lose weight, but the biggest thing was the mindset shift that I had. Seeing that momentum was carrying me in this direction. And I was like, you know what? I could fucking do this. I am a badass and I could absolutely do this. Then it just became who I was. Now I'm that man. And then doing that follow-up picture, I look at it, I'm like, God damn, it really is a crazy transformation. All the credit in the world to you. I saw what you posted as well.
Well, there's no, America, God bless them. They love it, a before and after picture. Yeah. They're suckers for it. Even flipping homes, before and after. It's, when I say it's by far the number one liked and shared post by 10 times every time, right? And what's interesting, and I would imagine the same thing that Chase and Anthony say to their clients. Everybody reached out to me. They didn't say, "Man, you look amazing." They said, "Man, you look happy."
Yes.
And what keeps coming back to me is they said, "You change yourself from the inside out, not the outside in." And in my opinion, that's been the most transformational change. And Chase, as a fitness coach and a mindset coach and story work coach, like I would imagine seeing the inside change in their moods and who they are. Like I have a, it's not a theory, it's a thing. Okay. And this is my statement. I get a massage a week. I eat really clean. I work out a lot and I work out my mind a lot. And if I'm still hurting, well, then how is Joe Smo feeling? I think people aren't assholes. I think they just don't feel good.
People don't like, well said. They're not assholes. And Joe Rogan said it on his episode with Sanjay Gupta in reference to like physical illness. It's like people have put so much shit in their bodies that they don't realize what good feels like. And on that same vein, we have so much shit story run in the back of our head that we don't realize what good feels like. And to what you guys were talking about with fitness and who you are, for any goal to become permanent, there must be an underlying change in identity. And so often people have been trying to lose weight for 10 years and they're trying to get from 280 down to 200. And they've been trying for 10 years. They have somebody in their head saying, nah, we're 280 pounds. We're not that person. Mm-hmm. And to your point, guys come into my program because they see me posting pictures of, my clients that lost weight and myself as 6% body fat. And then they leave, and months after they get out of my program, they talk about, this is an Instagram post for one of my guys, how they built a healthy, balanced relationship with rugby in their social life, how they have financial stability, which bought a new car, a plan of attack to buy a house, action, and down at the bottom, a healthy relationship with exercise.
It's the truth, right? And you alluded to something, so thank you for setting me up with that, because that's where I want to go next. Because me and Dennis just went through Enlifted 1, and as much as I had moved on from my addiction and my abusing of alcohol, I realized how much of my story had nothing to do with either one of those. On the surface, if you had to look at it and pinpoint, oh, that's why. But no, it was my parents' divorce. And it wasn't until I really unpacked that 17-year-old self that I said that was the foundation of the years of abuse, was how I felt in that one moment in time. And it's not until I, and Chase, you can speak to this, it's not until I got it out. And then Mark put fart noises around my story that like, I get the whole concept behind it. And it's kind of funny is that the story becomes so juvenile that you're like, this is dumb. And like in that moment, you're just like so over it.
Yeah. And by the time you have fart noises over your story, and spoiler alert, we're giving away a big old secret for Enlifted 1. And by the time you have fart noises over it, you've repped that, 7 times? I mean, you have seen it. And so many people have yet to write that down, look at it, and speak it back and own it, because we'll talk about it. Like, oh yeah, this happened and that happened. Look, I'm talking about it. I'm processing it. But you're not. You're talking fast through it and moving right by it without stopping and take a real look.
Well, Naval said something this morning on the podcast. He said the problem, he was just talking about gun control. I'm just using a broad topic. And he was saying the problem is they're not making a point. They're talking through each other.
You want to know the difference between a conversation and an argument?
What's that?
It's not tone of voice. In a conversation, individuals are listening to what's being said before responding. In an argument, they already know what they're going to say before the other person's done speaking.
They're waiting for their turn to talk, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's a good point. And so, through your work, one of the pillars of this retreat that we're putting on is story work and stuff. And so, Dennis, I'm very familiar with your story. What did writing your story out and kind of changing the narrative and owning what you needed to own, what did that do for you?
Going through it the first time, and I tracked it back as we were writing our Billy story, that story, that inner workout evil partner that is just talking shit to you the whole time. Reading through that, making it even worse, then going through, finding a specific time where I felt a specific way. I track it back and the Building Men audience will know, I had this really pervasive bullying situation that I experienced when I was in 6th grade. And I tell this story, and as I went through it, I broke down. And I do a lot of work still, coaching people through trauma. It's especially if you're an educator, how do you take your own experiences and then help kids pretty much? And as I worked through it, I couldn't get through the story without breaking down. And then going through it the second time, the third time, slowing it down, getting some space from the story. I'm doing a workshop today around trauma. I will tell that story and I'll get through it. No problem. I will be able to get through this story, tell the same exact story where the first time I couldn't do it because I was still inside of the book. And now I'm able to take it away from my face and read it. So I was there in that situation, but that is not me anymore. That was one of the crazy things. I know Anthony went through training camp for the soul and they did that same idea, was on this emotional journey as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how much those two link up. And I know a lot of Enlifted coaches who have done training camp for the soul, and those two pair up nicely, because mine was more about going back and again, taking something that I want to be in my life and then looking at why I can't do it, my limiting beliefs behind the reason why I can't get there. And then I figure out what that emotion elicits in me, that limiting belief. And then I think about the first time that I felt that emotion. And then I revisit that moment. And then I tell my younger self what I needed to hear that I didn't necessarily hear in that moment. And so I heal myself from, way back 20 years ago and giving myself exactly what I needed and then moving past that, because I know that I have the strength and the power within me to be able to tackle all these things. Cause it's just, it's just me giving myself what I needed to hear then.
And it's the inside out. You both mentioned it before, that inside out idea. You have to start inside if you want that external thing to work for you.
Well, I just told a client this morning, I already had a call with her and I said, listen, you know what makes me an effective coach? And a lot of people are going to get put off by this and I don't really give a shit. And I've said it to every one of my clients. I don't give a fuck about your spouse. I don't care about your family. I don't care about your kids, because my job is to make you into the best badass motherfucker that exists on this planet. And you own your shit and own your story. And if I create the best version of you, that's going to radiate in every relationship. And so I have a duty to make you own your fucking story. And this word that we all say that I think is super important, I've totally almost removed it from my vocabulary, is I feel like this took place. No, it took place. That for me was the game changer, Chase.
Yeah. Feel like that's soft talk. Take out the soft talk and your life gets a lot more, wait for it, solid. To Dennis's point about, repping things and bringing them back through with the unexpected, very unexpected, sudden passing of my brother 2.5 weeks ago, 27 years old. There are multiple that I am so incredibly lucky that I dove into this work like 18 months ago, because starting when it happened, I started repping it and talking about it and writing it down. And now I can talk about seeing my uncle hug my dad and realize that I've had my last hug from my brother on this plane. And that one messed me up hard for like 30 minutes when that first happened. But when we have these tools that we're talking about, we can use them in real time, in real life situations.
My girl, you brought that up. My girl said something to me last night. She goes, it's very sad that it takes somebody close to us dying for us to realize that we don't have that much time to really get our life in order. And she goes, I wish it didn't have to, but at the end of the day, that's the gift that they're given to everybody in their close proximity when they leave the earth.
You know what's interesting about that? My brother had a pale blue dot tattoo, and Carl Sagan, pale blue dot. Guys, get on YouTube, go check it out, because it is along that through line that we are on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam, and we are here for a fraction of a second when it comes down to it.
Guys, you know what, man? I have been in this short-term rental game for so long. You know what? I think I'm paying the light bills over at Airbnb and HomeAway and those companies. The fees are getting ridiculous. And the only way to do that is to stop building your real estate on somebody else's platform. And my man, Mark Simpson, Book Direct Playbook, the book is coming out. And this is a no-brainer. We got the hotels. The hotels do 50% direct booking on our website because of the tips and tricks that he's taught us with marketing and so on and so on. I've got a preview of this book. It is a game changer. Make sure you check it out, dude. You won't regret keeping more of your money for yourself. And you know, not to burst everybody's bubble, but one of the greatest things I ever heard is like the problem that you're not where you want to be is that you think you matter. You know, and it's like you're taking yourself too seriously. Like, you know, Dennis, I just had Paul Rosenberry on, and we were laughing our asses off because we say adults just don't have any fun anymore.
Yep.
Like they're white knuckling life, like they're trying to get somewhere, like it's a fucking contest. And at the end of the day, you know, you have no competition if you are authentically you. And so just start having some fun. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I look at my schedule, and this is super important because it's cultivated this way. There's nothing on my schedule that's not a fuck yes. Not a goddamn thing. And there's so much power in walking into a 14-hour day. And I was taking a shower and I'm tired today. And I was thinking to myself, like, look at all the badass motherfuckers I get to talk to today. I was like, what a fucking great day. Like, I get to talk to my boy who has been, you know, has 300 pieces of land. I get to talk to Mark. I get to talk to y'all. I get to talk to my other coaching friend. I get to talk to Chase later today on another podcast. Like, it's awesome. Like, and when you start waking up to the fact, now this is cultivated, this is created through hard work and, you know, owning your shit. But like, how do you like, because I know, Dennis, you're kind of going through a little bit of, there are things on my schedule that, you know, I would imagine in the near future are going to be removed and it's going to be 100% yours. Like, you know, how, for anybody that's out there listening, how do you still build this whole big thing on the side while maintaining your W-2 and keeping your sanity? It's
funny you mention it. I reached out to you right in the beginning of December and in November when it specifically happened. And I'll wrap this into an, you know, connection with Chase's story as well. So, I work for an organization that works with teachers. So I'm basically a subcontractor, and I teach teachers how to teach. I teach them about dealing with trauma. I teach them about communication, about behavior management, about language that we use when we're talking to our kids, coincidentally enough. So basically there's you know, trolls that work for this organization that found the Building Men podcast. I am very critical of the way education is working in our country. Go back and listen to a couple of the episodes, Matt Beaudreau, Adam Chin, where I get really deep into it. We get really deep into education. And basically they said to me, listen, if you continue to talk about education in a disparaging way, you'll no longer work for this organization and you need to stop cursing. And I said, fuck no. That. Fuck no. And we are onto something if that's what's being said. So basically most of my, or more than half of my income was coming from this organization. I was like, you know what? I'm going to roll my sleeves and get to fucking work right now. So what I did in that moment, I called up my brother and I said, I want to put an event for high school kids right now. I want to do something that we're going to call it the Pillars of Masculinity. I'm going to get all these badass dudes coming together in one space, giving advice to kids. Instead of pushing away from that, I'm going to say, fuck you all. I'm doubling down on that situation. And so it is a little bit scary. It absolutely is. But recognizing the time in my day, even if we're working 16 hours a day, I love it. It is not work to me. It's not I love rolling up my sleeves, learning things, talking to these badass people. It really is such a rewarding experience. And to Chase's point, I can remember the moment when you texted our group chat about that situation with your brother. You sent a voice note and I could just hear the hurt in your voice. I was going into a funeral. My girlfriend Julie's, one of her college roommates' younger brother passed. That moment when I got that voice note from you, and it was a Catholic funeral, and the priest stood up and he said, "Tell me some words that would describe the man, this guy Brian who had passed. Tell me words that would describe who he is, who his character is, or tell me something about him." And people were saying things, and I thought, wow, how impactful. What I want everyone to do that's listening to this right now, think of a couple words that you want others to say about you at the end of your journey. So what are those fucking words that you want people to say? Character, integrity, perseverance, kindness, compassion. And then look at yourself in the mirror and if you're not living that way, if you're not living up to those words you want people to say, bridge the gap. Do something right now that you will bridge the gap from where you are right now to what you want people to say about you when you pass.
Exactly. And we were on a coaching call. Me and my buddy coached some people together, and this guy, like, we're just having the same conversation for like 3 weeks, and I'm just like David Goggins in his ass, just lighting him up, and we got like 15 minutes into the call, and I was just not having it anymore. And I said, you know what, call's over, go run 10 fucking miles. And he was like, what? He goes, the most I've ever ran is 3. I said, I don't think I fucking stuttered. Go run 10 fucking miles. And so he went out and he ran 10 miles, and he sent me both of a picture, and I said, how you feel? He goes, that just changed my life. I go, there you go. Like, dude, I just watched something last night. I'm telling you right now, I watch things and I'm like, I just watched 14 Peaks on Netflix. If you had not watched this thing, holy shit. Okay. This guy hiked the top 14 mountains in the world during the winter in Nepal and Pakistan. And the fastest it's ever been done is 16 years. He did it in 6 months. He hiked 3 mountains in 48 hours. And you know what I thought through that whole thing? Now, granted, he was ex-special forces and he was in shape. But you know what I realized? He was on a mission, and there was not a damn person that was going to get in his way. Not the Chinese government. Like, there was a time they said, you can't scale that mountain. He got in that tent of all those hikers and he said, I will light the motherfucking way. And the guy goes, you can't tame the mountain. He goes, I'm going to go tame the fucking mountain. Watch me do it. He had made a decision in his mind that was going to happen. And when you understand that your subconscious and doesn't understand the difference between fake and real. So if you just tell it that you're a motherfucking warrior, you just tell it you're going to go do it. That's what you become.
I love that you didn't tell the guy to run 4 miles. You told him to run 10 miles. That's absolutely amazing.
No, I mean, sometimes you just gotta, sometimes like you just gotta tell him what's up. Like, the thing is like, he said something to me that really struck with me. He said, the mountain will teach you your lessons. And at the end of the day, like, physical activity will teach you who the fuck you are.
The journey. It's what we're doing, right? The hero's journey. That's what it's about.
Exactly. So what I want to share before we talk about what we're doing is I want each of y'all to share an experience that you've had. And one of the reasons why we're so passionate about events. So Chase, is there an event or the first one you went to or something that stands out to you that really shifted how you were? That's why you're so passionate about putting on live events yourself.
Yeah. So as far as organized event that wasn't the military, because that was life shifting. It was the most impactful was the first Enlifted Lake House Chronicles that I went to. And I was unsure what I was walking into, and it was a summit of Enlifted coaches. And when I was around 20 high-level people that wanted that are moving forward in life, like Ryan Sprague, guys like that. And next thing you know, I walked out of that weekend and I went back to the gym, and I had my next coach's staff meeting. And one of my guys looks at me and he's like, you were confident before. There's something different about you now. This is a whole nother level. And that was one weekend.
Love that. Gentlemen?
I feel like for me, I mean, one of the only retreats that I actually went on was the one for Training Camp for the Soul. But I went in there with this belief that I couldn't speak publicly because my whole life I just labeled myself as I'm not a public speaker, right? I'm an introvert. I get nervous when I speak to other people. I don't have a voice. Fast forward to the end of that retreat, I stood up in front of 45 people and expressed to them my deepest, darkest secrets and said it calmly, looked everyone in the face. And so that moment right there made me realize that I could do whatever the fuck I want to do, because that was the thing that was holding me back. And I'm like, okay, so now what's possible for me? Because I did the thing that I told myself I wasn't capable of doing. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. And after that moment, I had that realization, like, this is powerful shit, just from me proving to myself that I could do these things that I've been telling myself for 31 years is impossible.
Mine was, it wasn't an in-person retreat. It was actually an online group, and it was during COVID, going through a divorce, being this shell of myself. That was the man that was looking in the mirror when I told you, when I took that before picture before, I had this moment of deep depression where I stood in a field and I had there was a time, guys, where it's tough for me to talk about, but I have 3 kids, right? And I'm thinking, would my 3 kids be better off if they had $1 million life insurance policy? If I wasn't around and they had that, right? But there was something in me that I was like, no, you have to fight for you, fight for your kids, fight for your future self. And a song came on the radio. It was Already Gone by the Eagles. And it's something that I've said on my own podcast several times, our own podcast. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even know we have the key. And that line hit me. And I heard that song 1,000 times growing up in a family that revered classic rock, and it hit me in a different way that time. And at that moment, I was listening to a podcast right after I heard that song, and the guy in the podcast, it was the holistic alpha. It was Stephen Mathis, and he was doing an online group during COVID. He said, jump in, it's going to be a boot camp, 30 days, pay whatever you can pay. And I said, this is what I need, this spark, this catalyst. And there were 15 guys that joined, but it became this community that I was like, I am going to go all after this. I'm going to push myself as hard as I can for 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, I said to my brother, Anthony, jump in on this as well.
And you almost became like the facilitator of that group, because none of the guys were jumping in and saying anything, to the point that even the guy who was running it, Dennis, was posting more and asking questions and coming up with challenges for this group that he was a part of. You were like running the thing by the end of it.
Exactly. And I'm like, I see the power in having this community feel. And so we've all been through those situations, but the community became such an impactful part of that journey that, that I went on individually and that we've all gone on.
Well, mine is the fact that we're even having this call. So mine was a multifamily event. I don't know why I signed up, but I just did. And I went and I flew out to Colorado, and there's probably it's the best multifamily event. There's like 2,000, 1,500 investors. And, there's networking, and then there's the event, and then we're out in the networking hall, and I'm watching everybody walk up to every investor that has a podcast. Like, everybody is hovered around the people that have podcasts. And I had the thought in my mind forever. And I met a guy named Tyler Chesser, and I actually had him as one of my first guests on the podcast. And I said, this is what I've been thinking about doing. And he's like, no, you don't think, you do. Like, fucking just go. And we came up with the name right there. I texted my buddy who was in a podcast recording, and I said, this is what we're going to do. You in? Yes. Done. Let's go. And I came home and I recorded 9 episodes that week. And then we launched it 3 weeks later. And here we are, 400 plus episodes later because of an event. Here we are with the coaching business, with live events that I've done, meeting y'all if I didn't have the podcast. So that one decision to pay money to go to this event, I couldn't even tell you one fucking real estate topic they talked about. I never listened to one speech on stage. But it did be that, and then it also did this for me. When you go to events and you meet people in person, as much as we classify ourselves as badasses, what it does for me is it makes me realize how far I've come. Because in my opinion, when you meet people in person and you realize they're just humans and you don't need to look up to anybody, then it puts everybody at level playing field and makes you feel better and makes you realize how far you come and what you can accomplish. So for me, that's what it's done for me, and it's been really life-changing. So in that vein, we decided to get together and host a 3-day event. And it's called the Hero's Journey. And, Chase, what are you the most excited about? And then what are you going to focus on teaching during this event?
Put me up first. Get to lead off.
Lead off.
All right. What I'm most excited about is seeing Austin sing in person. Other than that, what Austin brought up is meeting and connecting with, we're the 4 guys that will be facilitating. And I know that I'm going to meet some guys that are chasing that self-improvement and chasing themselves. And that's going to be super awesome to connect and get to share our journeys with them and watch them further evolve. What I'm going to bring to the table, easy lifestyle stuff, fitness, and the words. There's a reason that I have abracadabra tattooed massive on my back, because our words quite literally shape our perception of our reality. So we will dive in there.
I love that. Anthony?
Oh, so I'm most excited about being able to create a safe space for men to just be themselves, just to be whoever the fuck they want to be. Like, I know how powerful that was for me, just to know that like someone is going through something similar to what I've been going through, and we're there for each other, and we can be there and allow them just to open up, and for me to open up, and for me to learn a lot about myself being at this retreat and facilitating it with you gentlemen. So, and then what I'm bringing to the table is kind of this emotional understanding when it comes to fitness, when it comes to what we think we're capable of. So kind of like breaking down those barriers that have been holding us back from the person who we want to be, and doing that through pushing ourselves in a physical realm and what we consume on a day-to-day basis, and really tackling it through that avenue.
Dennis?
Thing I'm looking forward to the most as a middle school principal, I would take this, the seventh grade every year on this 3-day, 2-night camping trip. And I would park my ass at the climbing tower. And it was the kids were terrified of heights. And so there's this climbing wall, and kids would be like, no, I can't do it. And I would say, you know what, go one step further than you thought you can go. Mr. Merald, I can't do it. Just go a step further than you thought you can go. And all of a sudden they're like, all right, I'll try one step higher. So they climb one rung higher. And they're like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, no, go one step further than you thought you can go. And they're like, I'm here. I'm like, yeah, but now you're there. So go a step further than you thought. Before you know it, these kids are at the top of a 60-foot climbing tower, ringing a bell, and they're like, holy shit, I just did this. So for me, the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is seeing men going a step further than they thought they were capable of going. There's this thing that happens, this light that shines inside of all of us. And once you see it and you recognize it, going back to, so oftentimes it happens, we live our lives in chains and we never even know we have the key. Every one of you has that fucking key inside of you. We will help you find it. So that's the thing that I'm looking forward to the most, is just that moment, that realization that people see that they are capable of more than they thought. What I bring to the table is an experienced facilitator of workshops, but experienced facilitator of community type events, getting people together, creating community, and having a good fucking time doing it. Having a good time doing all that. So in my work with Enlifted, in my work with, working with my younger brother, he was the one who, fully trained me and got me back into shape again. But doing all that and putting it together in a synergistic way and being able to work in this space, I cannot fucking wait. I'm more excited about this than I've been excited about anything else in a long time.
Well, for me, first I'm going to start selfishly. This is the first time that we'll all meet in person. So that's interesting.
Yep.
So that's a funny fact that none of us have met in person. So I'm super excited about that. For me, I truly believe this because I've seen it firsthand, and I know that people have mentioned it to me. There is a different set of energy when you are immersed with people, and the consciousness and the overall energy of the group, in my opinion, shakes loose things inside of you that you can't do stationary in your home, and, I think that giving, like Anthony said, giving men the space to be men, to let their guard down, is really going to create some transformational change. And one of the ways to do that is what my focus is, which is identity, and just pure not giving a fuck is kind of what I bring to the table. It's suspending belief of who you think you are and creating who you need to be. And when you create, and when you understand that you are the creator of everything that exists in your world, it is a beyond powerful feeling, because you can turn off and turn the switch on whenever you feel like it. And the number one thing that I meet from business owners and entrepreneurs is they think if they take a rest day, the whole empire is going to fall. And so, a lot of times people don't understand my coaching because they're like, you're the fucking badass that, gets up every morning and works out. And I go, yeah, but that's because I want to. And so I think that most people are doing it because they don't want to, they're doing it for somebody else. And so my number one thing is seeking the truth within inside you completely and wholly. And so I think that this weekend is going to do that. So, super excited about doing that. And anybody that has any questions about it or details, or just shoot us, any one of us, a DM. We'll be happy to answer them. Chase, if people want to find out more about what you're doing, your podcast, how would they do that?
Easiest way is Instagram at coach_Chase_Tollison. Also have the Primal Man Pathway account, and the website chasetollison.com is going live in like 2 weeks.
I love it. Gentlemen?
Building Men on Instagram is building.men. Our website is buildingmen.io. Website or email address is buildingmencoach@gmail.
And then just at Coach Anthony Meralda for me directly.
Wonderful. Guys, we hope you guys some value from this episode. We truly hope that you are going to punch 2022 in the fucking mouth. And I hope everybody has a good day. Send it to somebody that'll get some value, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.